discovered a hidden letter from my father after his passing, revealing a secret life he led. The truth shattered my perception of him and our family forever. I, 19F, live with my mom, Abigail, 40F. My father died when I was 10, which was really hard for both of us. For a long time, it was just Mom and me trying to get by. 7 years after Dad died, Mom started dating again. She met a guy named Daniel, 41M, but he turned out to be bad news. On one of their dates, he tried to spike her drink to take advantage of her. Luckily, another man named William saw what was happening and stepped in to help. He ended up bringing my drunk mom safely home that night. That's how I first met William. I was 17 at the time. A few days later, Mom and I ran into William at the mall. They talked for a while, and he seemed like a real gentleman. Mom exchanged numbers with him, and they started meeting up every so often. After about 6 months, they officially began dating. I wasn't totally comfortable with Mom dating again, but I kept quiet about it. She seemed happier than she had been in a long time, and I didn't want to ruin that for her. They dated for about a year, and then one day Mom came home with some news. William was going to move in with us for a while. When I objected, Mom explained that William was having some problems with his family and needed a place to stay for a couple of months. She also mentioned that he was 5 years younger than her. I was hesitant, but I agreed since Mom said it would only be temporary. William moved in that same evening. At first, he seemed like a really nice guy. He mostly kept to himself in the guest bedroom, working on his laptop. He's a freelancer who works from home. Mom told him to make himself comfortable in the house. After a couple of weeks, William started to act more at home. He'd move around the house like he'd been living here forever. Sometimes he'd cook for us or help with the laundry. He really did seem like the perfect guy, and I found myself starting to like him too. It's now been a year since William moved in, and Mom recently told me she's thinking about marrying him. Part of me feels like it's too soon for such a big decision, but I'm also confused. William has been great to live with, but there's a nagging feeling I can't shake. Like he might be too perfect, and there's more to him that we're not seeing. I've been trying to figure out why I feel this way. Maybe it's because everything happened so fast. It's only been a year and a half since Mom started dating William, and now he's living with us and they're talking about marriage. That's a big change in a short time. I also can't help but think about how smoothly William integrated into our lives. He went from being a stranger who helped Mom out of a bad situation to practically being part of the family. Don't get me wrong, he's been nothing but kind and helpful, but sometimes I wonder if it's all too good to be true. There's also the age difference to consider. William is younger than Mom, which isn't a huge deal, but it does make me wonder about their long-term compatibility. And then there's the fact that he moved in with us because of family problems. We don't know much about his background or what those problems were. It makes me curious about what else we might not know about him. I've tried to talk to Mom about my concerns, but she's so happy that it's hard for me to bring up my doubts. She's been through so much since Dad died, and I don't want to take away her happiness. But at the same time, I feel responsible for looking out for her. Living with William has been fine so far. He's respectful of our space and contributes to the household. He's even helped me with some of my schoolwork when I've asked. But there's still this little voice in the back of my mind that wonders if we really know him as well as we think we do. I've been paying more attention to William's behaviors lately, trying to see if there's anything off about him. But he's consistently nice and helpful. He remembers important dates, he's always willing to lend a hand, and he seems to genuinely care about both Mom and me. It's hard to find fault with him, which almost makes me more suspicious. The idea of Mom getting married again is a big deal. It would mean officially having a stepfather, which is something I never thought I'd have to deal with. William has been great, but the thought of him permanently becoming part of our family is a bit overwhelming. I've been trying to imagine what life would be like if Mom and William got married. What? Things stay the same as they are now? Or would William start to act differently once he's officially my stepdad? Would Mom expect me to start calling him Dad? These are all things that worry me. I've been trying to spend more time with William to get to know him better. We've had some good conversations, and he's always willing to listen if I need to talk. He doesn't try to replace Dad, which I appreciate. Instead, he's carving out his own role in our family. I've been thinking about talking to some of my friends about this situation to get an outside perspective, but it's such a personal thing that I'm not sure how to bring it up. Plus, I don't want to betray Mom's trust by discussing our family matters with others. As the days go by, I find myself going back and forth. I've also been thinking about my own future. I'm 19 now, and I'll probably be moving out for college soon. How will that change the dynamic between Mom and William? Will I feel like an outsider in my own family if they get married while I'm away? I want Mom to be happy. If marrying William is what will make her happy, then I'll do my best to be supportive. But I also know that I need to be honest with her about my feelings and concerns. It's a delicate balance, but I'm trying my best to navigate it. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm trying to keep an open mind about William, while also staying alert to any red flags. I'm working on communicating more openly with Mom about my feelings. And most importantly, I'm trying to focus on the positive changes William has brought to our lives, rather than dwelling on my doubts and fears. Whatever happens, I know that Mom and I will face it together, just like we've faced everything else since Dad died. And who knows? Maybe having William as part of our family will turn out to be better than I ever could have imagined. Update. Hey guys, I am here with something which is going to blow your minds off. I knew something was wrong with William, and my gut feeling was absolutely right. Here's what happened. I was walking out of my college one day when a woman approached me. She introduced herself as Naomi and said she was 38 years old. At first I was confused about why she was talking to me, but then she started telling me some disturbing things about William. Naomi warned me that William wasn't the good guy he appeared to be. She said he had a pattern of targeting vulnerable single women and conning them out of their wealth and property. What shocked me the most was when she said she had been one of his victims. According to Naomi, she had gotten suspicious of William early on, and he had run away when she started asking questions. She told me she had seen my mom and William together at a function, and had secretly contacted my mom to warn her. But apparently, my mom wasn't taking any action. I felt a mix of confusion and fear as I listened to Naomi. Part of me wanted to dismiss what she was saying. After all, William had been nothing but kind to us. But another part of me remembered the nagging doubts I'd had about him being too perfect. When I got home, I found that William wasn't there. I decided to talk to Mom about what Naomi had told me. To my surprise, Mom confirmed that Naomi had indeed contacted her. She said she hadn't told me about it because she didn't want me to worry. As we talked more, Mom revealed some things that made both of us worried. She mentioned that William had once asked about the ownership of our house. She had been surprised by the question, but told him it was in my name. After that, William hadn't brought it up again. Mom also said that sometimes she had caught William looking at our financial documents. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now it seemed suspicious. Then she dropped another bombshell. William had been borrowing money from her quite often, always citing different temporary financial problems. I was shocked that Mom hadn't told me any of this. She explained that she didn't want to worry me, but I felt like these were things I should have known. We were both pretty shaken up by all of this information. Not knowing what to do next, I decided to seek help from my friend's father, who is a lawyer. I went to his office and explained the whole situation to him. He listened carefully and then said he wanted to meet Naomi to hear her story firsthand. We arranged a meeting with Naomi, and she told us how William had cheated her out of a few $1,000s. She explained his tactics in detail, how he would gain trust, slowly ask for small favors, and then escalate to larger financial requests. It all sounded eerily similar to what was happening with my mom. The lawyer and I came up with a plan. We decided to confront William, but in a way that he couldn't easily escape or make excuses. Mom called William and asked him to meet her at a coffee shop. When William arrived at the coffee shop, only Mom was waiting for him. He sat down, probably thinking it was just going to be a normal date. But then Naomi, the lawyer, and I came and sat down at the table too. The look on William's face when he saw Naomi was one of pure fear. He tried to make excuses, but Naomi didn't let him. She revealed how he had a pattern of finding vulnerable single women and duping them out of their money. With all of us there, William couldn't talk his way out of it. In that moment, I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that we had caught William before he could do any serious damage to our family, and anger that he had betrayed our trust so completely. The lawyer explained to William that we had evidence of his fraudulent activities and that he had two choices. He could leave immediately never contact us again, and return any money he had borrowed, or we would press charges. William, realizing he was cornered, agreed to leave. After William left, Mom broke down crying. She felt guilty for not listening to Naomi earlier and for keeping things from me. I hugged her and told her it wasn't her fault. William was a skilled manipulator who had fooled many people. Over the next few days, we worked on securing our finances and changing the locks on our house. The lawyer helped us file a restraining order against William, just to be safe. It was a stressful time, but I was grateful that we had caught on before William could do any serious damage. Naomi became an unexpected ally during this time. She shared more details about her experience with William, which helped us understand his tactics better. She also connected us with a support group for people who had been victims of similar cons. As the dust settled, Mom and I had a long talk about trust and communication. We agreed that in the future, we wouldn't keep important things from each other, even if we thought we were protecting the other person. This experience had shown us how crucial honesty was in our relationship. I also did a lot of thinking about my own instincts. I realized that the doubts I had about William from the beginning weren't just paranoia or jealousy. They were my subconscious picking up on things that didn't quite add up. I promised myself to trust my instincts more in the future. The whole experience was a wake-up call for both Mom and me. We realized how vulnerable we had been and how easily someone could take advantage of that vulnerability. We started taking steps to become more financially literate and to build a stronger support network. One positive outcome was that Mom and I became closer through this ordeal. We learned to lean on each other more and to face problems as a team. We also became more appreciative of the genuine relationships in our lives. In the weeks that followed, we heard through the grapevine that William had left town. Part of me was relieved, but another part was angry that he might just move on to his next victims. The lawyer assured us that he would pass on William's information to the relevant authorities, but warned us that these types of con artists were often good at staying one step ahead of the law. Mom started seeing a therapist to work through her feelings of betrayal and to build her self-esteem back up. I was proud of her for taking this step. She also joined a single-parent support group, which seemed to help her a lot. As for me, I threw myself into my studies, but also made sure to spend quality time with Mom. We started having weekly movie nights and took up cooking classes together. These activities helped us rebuild our sense of normalcy and security. The experience with William made me more cautious about people, but I tried not to let it make me cynical. Instead, I focused on appreciating the genuine relationships in my life and on becoming a better judge of character. I also became more interested in learning about financial scams and how to protect oneself from them. I even did a presentation on the topic for one of my classes, hoping to help others avoid similar situations. As time passed, the fear and anger we felt towards William began to fade. We focused instead on the lessons we had learned and on moving forward with our lives. Mom eventually felt ready to start dating again, but this time she was much more cautious and always made sure to introduce any potential partners to me early on. Looking back, I realized that while the experience with William was painful and scary, it had also made us stronger. We had faced a serious threat to our family and had come out the other side more united than ever. I often thought about how differently things could have turned out if Naomi hadn't approached me that day outside my college. Her bravery in coming forward had potentially saved us from a much worse fate. It made me realize the importance of speaking up when you see something wrong, even if it's uncomfortable or scary. The whole experience also taught me a lot about the complexity of human nature. William had seemed so perfect, so kind and helpful. It was a harsh lesson that people aren't always what they seem, and that sometimes the ones who appear the most perfect are hiding the biggest secrets. As I continued with my college studies, I found myself drawn to courses on psychology and criminology. I became fascinated with understanding how people like William operated, partly out of academic interest and partly as a way to protect myself and others in the future. Mom and I made a pact to always be honest with each other, even when it was difficult. We had learned the hard way that secrets, even well-intentioned ones, could create dangerous blind spots. We also became more involved in our community, volunteering at a local women's shelter and participating in awareness campaigns about financial fraud. It felt good to turn our negative experience into something positive that could help others. As the months passed, the memory of William became less painful. We still had moments of anger or sadness when we thought about how he had deceived us, but those moments became less frequent. Instead, we focused on the strength we had found in ourselves and in each other. I sometimes wondered about William's background and what had led him to live a life of deception, not to excuse his actions, but to understand how someone could choose that path. It was a reminder that everyone has a story, even if it's not one we can understand or condone. The experience changed how I approach relationships, both romantic and platonic. I became more observant of people's actions rather than just their words, and I learned to take my time in trusting new people. But I also made sure not to let fear prevent me from forming meaningful connections. Mom and I often talked about how grateful we were to have caught on to William's deception when we did. We knew that many others in similar situations weren't so fortunate. It made us appreciate our luck, but also motivated us to help others who might be in vulnerable positions. As I neared the end of my college years, I found myself reflecting on how much had changed since William had entered our lives. While the experience had been painful, it had also led to growth and positive changes that I wasn't sure would have happened otherwise. I realized that life often doesn't go as planned, and that sometimes the most difficult experiences can lead to the most important lessons. The situation with William had taught me about resilience, about the importance of trusting my instincts, and about the strength that can be found in facing challenges together. As I looked towards the future, I felt more prepared to face whatever challenges might come my way. I knew that Mom and I could handle anything as long as we stuck together and remained honest with each other. And while I hoped we would never face a situation like William again, I felt confident that if we did, we would be better equipped to handle it. In the end, what could have been a devastating experience had turned into a powerful lesson in trust, honesty, and the importance of family. While I wouldn't wish what happened with William on anyone, I was grateful for the strength and wisdom we had gained from the experience. It had shaped us, but it hadn't broken us. Instead, it had made us stronger, wiser, and more appreciative of the genuine love and support we had in our lives.